We have Miss Worldwide, also known as Lava Girl, formerly Season, aka the Daisy Duchess. It's the one, the only, Ava like lava. Ava, if you woke up today and you found yourself deep in the 90s, what would be playing on your radio?
Oh my God. First of all, thank you so much, guys, at Sludge Underground for having me. What a beautiful intro. I've been dying and waiting for the moment where all of these acronyms and titles that I've self-bestowed were going to come up and actually be used by someone other than me. So thank you for that. It's really exciting to hear it. To answer your question, definitely Backstreet Boys and Britney Spears. I'm not even going to choose between the two because they would be playing back to back.
I gotta, bring this up, Alva, because obviously the accent. So where are you from originally?
I'm from Iran. It is surrounded by other Middle Eastern countries, but we stand out, as well as Turkey, for being two non-Arabic countries in the Middle East. So our primary language, our mother tongue, is in Arabic. It does have Arabic influence in it, but it's a completely different type of language. It sounds different. It flows different. And yeah, obviously we have a bunch of different cultural elements compared to the rest of the Middle East. But it is exciting. And we're often confused with Iraq, one of our neighbors. But yeah, I think for those who know, they know. And for those who don't, I'm hoping that my music can change that and can be a sort of an introduction for anyone who isn't familiar with my culture.
Just on your culture, this is something I'm very intrigued by, right? I don't know if this would be from Iran, but you often come across those videos online where it's they're doing some sort of circle dance type thing.
Okay.
Is that from Iran? What is that like? Yeah.
If I'm imagining correctly, then it could be, the dervish and their long tradition of, going into trance, and then they're called whirling dervishes. If we are talking about the same thing, that actually did originate, back in the day, it was, part of Persia, but now it is modern day Turkey. So it is very, very close to us. Yeah, I think, the thing is that we have modern states, modern nation states in the international system. But before that, a lot of these places were empires, and, they stretched way further than, the country's borders do today. So it's crazy. The Middle East is just honestly one of the craziest, areas in the world, is rich with history and just artifacts like that. So yeah. A lot of cool cultural dances for sure, and a lot of circles.
Do you ever visit Iran, ever, or are you this side full on?
I do. I used to visit a lot more frequently, and it was the place that I would spend every summer in. So growing up in China, that was what we did during the summer. Myself and my parents would go back to Iran. So I was never, far away from it, even though I didn't grow up there. We left for China because of my dad's job. When I was 7, I had just finished first grade of primary school in Iran. And that's the only bit of schooling that I've actually done there. But it was never far away from me. It was never somewhere I was divorced from. At least half of my family is in Iran. And so it was the place that I didn't want to come back from every summer when we would go.
I've heard you say, when you're talking about the track Feel Me, that you refer to yourself as a third culture kid. What does that mean?
I think a third culture kid really just represents having been exposed to different cultures throughout your childhood. It's never by your own choice, more so your family circumstances and what your parents end up deciding. For me, as an only child, my parents wanted me to grow up having the most access to opportunities that we could have. And we weren't diplomats. My dad isn't a politician. He didn't work for an international, a big international corporation. He was an engineer and he sought work opportunities abroad. He sought immigration just so I wouldn't have to live with the restrictions that Iranian society also imposes on women, something that, really would hinder my creativity, my ability to express these notions. And just, it's a lot of limitations that unfortunately the women in my country have to put up with. And they resist it, they fight it, they don't agree with it. But unfortunately, that's what they're restricted to. I know I went a little bit off topic there, but I thought it related back to what we're speaking about with regards to culture and my heritage. But yeah, that third culture child is just a child who's a global citizen, a product of the world. And that's how I feel. That's how I feel about everywhere that I've lived. It leaves a very, specific imprint on me and my development and how I perceive myself. And South Africa is much like that as well. People get surprised when they're like, oh, so you've only been here since 2016. And, that's not a long time. But it's home to me. It's a part of me. I think that, wherever I am, I try to absorb as much as I can about the environment. And, unlike other people who, may decisively call one place home, I try to develop that mindset and love for anywhere that I find myself.
Having lived in so many different places and such, one being China, how was your experience, out in China? What is China like compared to, South Africa? And if you had to sort of pick between staying, here and staying in China full time, because the situation in Iran, right? But between those two, which would you sort of, stay in? Which do you prefer?
The one thing that I try to remind pretty much any South African person I come across is that the grass is not greener on the other side. And that's something you should always, just acknowledge to yourself, even if you're inclined to believe that people have it better in other places. Everywhere has its unique set of problems that make it hard for the citizens in those spaces. With South Africa, we know the obvious problems. I mean, gender-based violence is probably the most prominent crisis that South Africa has been dealing with for the longest time, and one that consistently puts it in the worst kinds of statistics and far off from the rest of the world. And that's a huge problem. It's a problem that faces any woman, a problem that faces any family. And that's obviously, we know what needs fixing. We know where there can be so much more improvement. But in Iran, like we said, you don't have freedom of expression. You don't have freedom of movement, freedom of religion. These are, and I mean, like, just this conversation alone is, believe it or not, risky territory. The more I speak my truth and, try to represent things to the best of my ability and my knowledge and fairly, and tell the world about the things that I've seen, the more I'm putting myself in danger and my platform. and by platform, I mean, well, yeah, it's, I always worry about this, and I know this is really deep and intense, but like, it's not that hard to get assassinated, and then your platform ends, and and that's that kind of. I'm not really sure why I'm like going so deep into the political chats, but I think when asked to compare China and South Africa, that's another thing that comes to mind. I loved China for a lot of reasons. It's a beautiful country, and I think that everyone should visit the Far East because it really shows the world how fast you can develop, how well you can lift a large portion of your population and a great number of people out of poverty. These are still major priorities, I think, around the world. South Africa for sure, Iran for sure. We all could benefit from, lifting people out of poverty at a good enough rate and not making life harder for the people who are the most vulnerable to these circumstances. And that's something China's done exceptionally well. Chinese people are great. They have obviously a lot of cultural differences with Iranians, but we never had a bad experience living in China. They were so welcoming towards foreign people as well, especially when I was growing up. Less so now because they don't need the expats. And that's a good thing. It's good to not need foreigners there for your country to, be functioning well. It's a super futuristic space, and that's really respectable. I mean, it competes with the United States, with European countries that have been developed for very long in terms of modernism. The infrastructure is great. What I miss most, and this is something I tell everyone very often, is public transport. Chinese public transport is wonderful. And it wasn't always like this. When I was growing up, when we first moved to China in 2005, they had 4 lanes of the underground metro. Now they have like 23 very expansive metro lines that cover the whole city. You can go anywhere you want. You can beat traffic, but you could still take a cab because that's also quite affordable. And you can also take the bus because that's also really convenient. And that's something that I feel like any big city really, really needs. I think that can be one of the more important things that we can see happen in South Africa is increasing the public infrastructure so that normal citizens have the best and most easy access to where they're trying to go, and for there not to be these barriers of entry just for you to get to your job interview, for example. But yeah, the grass isn't greener on the other side. There's so many different things you can appreciate about where you are. And all of those places have problems. So I think it's important to take anywhere with a grain of salt and appreciate what happens right in a space. And in South Africa, increasingly, you see that, at least freedoms of expression are valued. And that has taken a very traumatic history to gain. And so it's respectable, it's applaudable. You got to appreciate the progress where you see it. Because, otherwise, there's always negative things to focus on. And that doesn't inspire hope. It doesn't make people want to stay in a country. It's not good for the future.
Please don't feel like you can't just go as deep as you can, as long as your life is not in danger. So that's the most important thing. But don't feel bad for going, as deep as you want to go.
My conspiratorial fears are honestly just rooted in what I've seen as the power of, the power of a narrative, especially if it goes against what certain authorities may want you to say and may want you to preach and may want you to advertise at all. And I think, studying international relations and being very deeply involved in world politics has always made me but just be careful where you say it, you don't want this biting your ass before you get things, actually accomplished, before you can help these causes. And so I'm always just trying to figure out what the right amounts of everything is.
No, it's all good. You're killing it. I think this is the perfect amount. Also considering the fact that, there aren't that many. We don't really get to hear about what happens in Iran here in South Africa on a daily basis. We don't get to hear about what's happening out in China and all that. So especially getting this from an artist, who is making incredible music, who's doing some really good things here in South Africa. I don't think there's this kind of content is literally available anywhere. It's rare. So hence I'm saying don't feel like you got to hold back, but obviously just, be as safe as you want to be as well.
Thank you. This is actually my first time expressing this concern outwardly because, it's real. I say it to my partner all the time. I'm like, babe, I need to become sufficiently powerful before I can actually just, dropping truth bombs on people.
So what I want to find out from you, Ava, is obviously you were saying, you mentioned there's just so much. I want to focus on, obviously you said that in China, there's some positive sort of takeaways, one of them being transport and such, and that, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Here in South Africa, for you personally, what would you say is, one of the positive things? Because we have sort of been focusing more on the negative side. So here, what would you say, is sort of, one of the positive things that you've found, since you stayed here in 2016?
I think for one, people are so kind. And South Africa is such a hopeful story for me. I think it's an inspiring story and one that, requires patience, for me, coming here in 2016, when I started studying at Wits University, this was my first time really seeing what what like society was actually like through the eyes of young people, what has been accomplished in post 94 South Africa for the born frees, like what they're like, what what they make of the world. And it was really exciting for me. I've always been an outsider, no matter where I've been. With having like a privilege of being an insider outsider, it's a difficult thing to explain, because obviously when I come into a space, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm different from everyone, but I'm curious. I'm interested. I'm in your home. So show me the way, show me how you guys do things and what you believe. And I feel like South Africans are some of the most underrated individuals in the world, genuinely. And I think that diversity breeds a lot of this. Growing up, we all watched American movies. We were all a part of this Americanized world. And so a lot of the things that, we subconsciously picked up watching TV and how we thought the world was, at least for me, was based on, TV series I watched and, what I used to enjoy as entertainment. And even my accent, being Americanized, that is a product of my socialization and what I was into, the music I listened to, what my influences were. But I feel like growing up, I didn't realize that the world wasn't as nice a place as it was made out to be in this TV world. Growing up, I certainly didn't realize that racism was as blatant a thing as it is in the United States, for example, or that police brutality even exists. And not to make this about things that aren't positive in their nature, but I think the point that I'm trying to make in that is I didn't realize how much of that fantasy world wasn't real. And coming to South Africa, going to university here, seeing what civil society is like here has been really inspiring. I think South Africa in reality is far more like what the idealized American TV scenario reflects. When I look at, a table of people sitting outside of Theo's on campus, and I see that they're a mixed crowd. You see 2 Muslim kids, a couple of Indian kids, there's 3 white kids and 5 Black kids, like chilling together. They're a clique, they're a circle. That's not a TV show putting quotas in or trying to like incorporate diversity into a space. I feel like I witnessed so much of that happening organically. And for me, that is like probably the greatest sign of progress, because it says something about what the future is going to look like. And from what I can tell, born frees are a lot more on each other's level, irrespective of their cultural differences and distinctions, than they are with the generation before them, who had to, be a lot more actively engaged with, the traumatic events in history of this country. So there's just so much hope. I don't know. When I think of South Africa, I think of hope. I think of kindness. I think of, perseverance. And that's what makes me want to be here. I think that Africa is going to be the creative capital of the world, and that it's already on its way of becoming that and being a source of export of culture and music, which we've already seen it become. And I really want to be a part of it. I have such a great appreciation for everything that I see here that is right, that is fantastic, that is world class. And so, yeah, SA is inspiring.
So we've talked a lot about places becoming an influence in who we are. In terms of your aesthetic, you've hinted that we are a collection of our influences. So I want to know about people. Who are your muses?
Oh, wow. I love this question. I think that to the best of our abilities, we can only answer half of that question, mainly because we have our conscious influences and muses, right? But I think there's so much in our brains that we couldn't even distinguish, because it could be from a memory when you were 2 years old and your grandma may have been playing a song on the radio that you used to hear every day at that time. And that's left such an imprint on your brain. And you wouldn't be able to recognize it, but you would know that it's somehow there, and it comes out in one song or in one lyric and one word and things like that. But as for my conscious influences, musically speaking, I'm drawn towards great lyricists. And what I think is great obviously differs from what everyone else will think is great. But I personally really enjoy people who can talk about really real things without making it as though and packaging it as though, okay, cool, this is what we're talking about. It's deep, it's meaningful. Like, I don't want things to be explicitly meaningful. I like it when people are very playful with that. I like it when people can laugh at themselves in their music, and that level of honesty that can come through someone's expression, of teasing themselves, of like laughing at their flaws, of being playful. I love playfulness in music. And for me, music is an opportunity to make people feel something. And I don't gravitate towards wanting to create and generate a feeling of sadness in my audience. And I think a lot of my most favorite musicians, even if they were speaking about really sad content, had such a fuck you attitude about it, and such a this is what it is, it is what it is, that it no longer feels sad. And I just love playful music so much. I mean, Mac Miller is one of my all-time biggest inspirations, muses, loves, just icons. Love him lyrically, love him musically. Those are two separate things, and somehow together they even create a new dimension. He's someone who's always shown how easily you can laugh at hard things and still be honest about them, to poke fun at yourself, to be playful, to just be full of meaningful messages that don't have to be explicitly like, this is meaningful, this is serious. In fact, I think, when I sense that tone to a project, I don't like it as much. If I feel like you're trying to like make something, deep and serious, and that's the explicit packaging of it, I feel like, it's almost like, I feel your narrative too strongly, and it makes it hard to listen to the music for the music's sake. So it's quite difficult. Amine is another one. Love his playfulness. His music's still very meaningful, but it's far more implicit and it's far more explicitly playful. Creative. Oh, I think he's a creative genius. And, I aspire to be able to direct music videos of my own that are so creatively fun. They're so childlike and just fun to watch, make you happy. Happiness is a hard feeling to create in other people. And that's something that I would like to create. I want someone to be excited after listening to my music. I want someone to be inspired, to be happy. And sometimes it means making people feel somber, but it won't be my explicit intent. And even if it is the messaging of it, I'll try to wrap it in not a sugar-coated kind of bow situation, but I'll make it fun. Let's laugh with it instead of laughing at it.
In terms of lyric writing, which part of the lyrics do you typically start with, and which part is the most challenging to write?
I think if I had to observe a pattern in how I work, I start with hooks and choruses easier. For some reason, I actually think that choruses come rather easily to me. And a verse, verses can be intimidating. I'm not sure. It depends on the song as well. But when I say it can be intimidating, it's because, if you have a hook in mind that you're like, okay, cool, this is fun, this is playful, this is catchy. And then you're like, oh, okay, now I have to tell people what the song is about. And I think the verse is more the part of the story where you do dig deeper, tell the actual story. And sometimes you actually don't know what you're going to say. You have the hook. You know what it feels like. You know that it's a vibe. You know that it will make anyone listening to it feel something. But sometimes the story really comes from thinking about it. And the story isn't always there from the very beginning, inspiring the whole song.
So in terms of songs that may take quite long to write, I know that there was a song of yours that took years to for you to evolve into. What makes you dig into the archives, so to speak?
Ah, the vault. It's a great place. I think it's a really important thing to have a discography of unreleased music. It's something that artists don't speak about enough because, especially in the first couple of years that you start making music, there's so much you're going to experiment with. There's so much you're going to create and create for the first time, because the muse is inspiring you to do so, but that you don't necessarily, release all of it. I mean, it's a good thing, and it's also one of my biggest regrets that I didn't release more of what I made back in the day, just for it to be out there in the world. But at the same time, a lot of that is, foundational steps, and you don't have to like share the foundational steps with your audience when you feel like, okay, cool, this was just part of the learning process. Not all of these songs were, fully baked. Some of them were more half baked, but that was just part of the process of learning. That was part of the process of experimentation. With the song that you're referring to, Summertime, that song is actually one of the first songs I ever wrote, at least the majority of it. I have since added a whole new verse or a bridge, so to speak, to the song. I have since re-recorded the whole entire song and did it with my skill sets today, with my way better idea of who I am sonically, of who I am aesthetically. And so it's really fun. It's nice. Sometimes you listen to like some of the first songs you wrote and you're like, I can tell that like I know you were inexperienced. I can tell that, you also didn't overthink it, too much. And that's a good thing. Sometimes the more you do of something, the more experience you have in also just being over conscious of the process. I mean, it certainly becomes far easier to not be like that. But looking back at some of the earliest songs I wrote and recorded, there's still such a strong sense of appreciation I have for them and respect for Ava then, or Season, or whoever she was. I respect what she was doing then, because without what I did then, I wouldn't have been able to evolve into the sound that I have today and have this proper understanding of myself. And I look back and I'm like, shit, girl, you were doing all right. Those are some really good bars. That was a really good way of expressing it. And I remember that back in the day, I didn't overthink it, even though it wasn't easy to write music when I first began. I still really have such a gratitude towards all of that music. And Summertime, it has been rebuilt. It almost like, for me, it's nostalgic because I know it started so long ago. I think it was, written and recorded originally in 2018, which is honestly like when I first began making music, really. And the opportunity to rework it and master it has been really fun. And also like not as easy as you would think, because you remember how you did it back then, and there's a certain part of your memory that remembers your delivery back then. And it's also scary going up against your past self, because then you have to outdo yourself. But it's been really ridiculously fun, and I'm glad I got to revisit it. It was a song that every time that I performed it, on the numerous occasions that I have, it was obviously an unreleased song with the old recording, and people were like, where's the song? Why isn't it out there? And I think it finally belongs out there. And I think that if it wasn't good enough back then, it certainly is good enough compared to where I am today, which is a really much harder point to have the song be good enough for. There's a lot of things I have in the vault that I just wouldn't release because it wouldn't make sense with where my sound is now and its trajectory and where I'm going with it. But it's really awesome that this song is. And I think it speaks to how good I think it is.
When you revisited Summertime, and you said it was obviously 2018 Ava, would you say there are still some, when you look back at that Ava from 2018 and the Ava that you are now, is there anything that you look back at and you're like, actually, I'm still sort of within the same sort of mindset or still have the same beliefs as 2018 Ava? Or would you say everything has just basically changed completely and it's all HD? Or is there some things that you're still carrying, with you?
Very little has actually changed. What has changed and what has transformed has been my sense of acceptance for my sound, which is something that Ava back then was still oblivious to. And obviously, your sound isn't something set in stone and fixed forever, but I have really learned a lot about like what I like and what I am. And I have grown to accept it. You first have to go through this very awkward phase and stages, not even a phase of discovery, of experimentation. And that was hard work for Ava then for sure. But she couldn't say it with her chest that this is her sound. And the awkward thing about that process is you may put out music that you don't know if you're going to be committing to for the rest of your life, if you're going to sound like this, if this is your thing. The first couple of times anyone asks you what genre you make, it's a hard question to answer. You're like, I'm not sure yet. But increasingly, I become more comfortable in my stance. I know what I sound like. I think then the experimentation had a slight question mark at the end. Like, is this what I am? And now I'm like, this is what I am. And so how I present it, how I engage with it, and how I embody it is far more from the heart, fully embraced, and, to the best of my ability to be true to myself and to what I've come to know as my sound. So same person, more affirmed, more secure, more comfortable and excited, and at the same time more experimental. I feel like I can afford to experiment within the boundaries, the newer boundaries, better understanding of what I actually like. And so, yeah, when I do experiment, I know I'm expanding upon what I already think is a pretty solid foundation, and one that I've, come to develop for myself.
And sonically, you did mention that, you're obviously in a better place, you're a better artist now than you were, back then. But now, how do you make sure that you don't sort of lose the essence of, the actual track? Because if you're looking back at 2018, say, for example, you were talking about, or you were interested in, say, flowers and, unicorns or something, how do you sort of make sure that you still keep that in there so that we know that, okay, we get that 2018 Ava, and not sort of dilute it too much, with the newer experiences that you've still got, going?
The music, as much as it started in 2018, is ultimately being released into the world now. So it reflects where we are. But part of reflecting on where we are is the whole process of how we got here, And going back to your points about unicorns, it's like, yeah, I've been repping unicorns. Did you not know? And so the song is like, obviously it has that unicorn element to it. And the bulk of the song lyrically has remained the same. What has changed is the confident delivery that I can have, knowing what I actually sound like, knowing how I deliver. And I think the delivery is the primary thing that would be different between 2018 and now is I know how I'm about to fuck up a track when I'm on it, and how I'm not like standing on the mic like with a big question mark, like, yeah, take me to the summertime. It doesn't end in an upward inflection of, am I sure? This is an idea. Okay, hear me out. I'm like, hear me out. Take me to the summertime. Let's all go. And I think that's the primary difference is, yeah, just like accepting that like I was going to deliver it with what I have today. And that was also part of the pressure, because you're like, Ava, I'll do Ava. Ava, you better. You're a lover now.
On my Ava journey, I've noticed a reinvention cycle. And I've even heard you say that you feel like you're constantly introducing yourself. So what would you call your current era? And how does that affect your process with Ganja Beats, considering the fact that they've been there from day one?
I think, I'm at a really exciting point in my journey right now, having just hopefully finished studying. I mean, I'm still waiting for feedback on my thesis, but it's like for the first time, I feel like I can really, really commit a lot more of myself to my music more wholeheartedly. And I'm in the process right now of releasing my next project. And this is just such a good time to be alive for me. I'm so grateful for it because I feel like I'm finally ready for the world to have another, a collection of offerings from me musically, and allowing my audience to decide what they feel like the process has been and what the journey has been from Say Things to Myself to Malice in Wonderland. The connections are for the patterns are for the audience to interpret. The connections are for the audience to make. But it's really exciting. I think that the time before you release a project is this magical time, working towards it, knowing you're building something, knowing you're building like a collection of something, a larger story. And so I'm in my about to reintroduce the introduction phase. I'm done introducing, actually. I'm at this stage where I'm like, I'm Ava like lava. If you know that, you know that. If you don't know that, you will know that. And that is it. I'm no longer trying to describe myself further than the introduction of, hey, this is what I am. Hopefully your curiosity will allow you to uncover the rest. And so with this next project and with where I feel like I am in this era, it's an era of just embodiment of everything that, I feel like I have learned about myself, and really trying to dig deeper, both within myself and digging deeper into the world, digging deeper into music, and just really being as open as I can be, as open as I've ever been. And I'm hoping that this new musical offering and experience will make my audience feel the same, just enable deeper sentiment.
So Malice in Wonderland is real and it's coming.
Malice in Wonderland is real and is coming.
What? That changes everything, Ava. Everything. Is this going to be an album though? Like a full album?
It is going to be a ridiculously long EP. Okay, cool. So, ridiculous is subjective, but it's going to be a considerably long EP. For me, it feels like an album. But yeah, the categorization ultimately, I think, is not as important when this is the longest, project that I've ever worked on. It's the most music I've ever put out at once. And so for me, it may as well be, the biggest form of offering that I can bring to, the world. And one thing that I'm increasingly excited about is that I feel like I've broadened my horizons since the last time I released my project. Obviously, you need to learn a lot through your first project, and hence 2021 was an incredibly quiet year for me musically. I only released Hindsight. I was very busy with music. I was making a lot of music. I was doing a lot of work that I hadn't done before. I was experimenting in a lot of ways, but I wasn't releasing music. And, I wasn't mad about it either. And so it's been exciting and also a long time coming now. So it's finally getting to the point where I feel like, the world and myself, we're both ready for Malice in Wonderland and whatever it brings.
So are these songs already written, or are there some that are still maybe in the studio process?
There are currently 2 songs that are being finalized in the studio process, but the project is done otherwise. we are very, very, very near the end. And it's only a matter of, not rushing it at this stage, because truthfully, I wanted to have this project released before we get into the second half of the year. But I realized that I need to let go of, the notion of being too attached to a date when I care far more about doing it right, or whatever I believe is part of me doing the most that I can to put out this project with my whole heart, say it with my chest, do as much as I can as an artist, as well as an artist manager for myself in this process. And yeah, I've given the delivery that I want. So I feel like I now have to deliver it to the best of my ability. And I will not rush that, although it is going to be this year for sure. And it's going to be soon, but I'm not going to put too much pressure on, becoming fixated on a date. Because I think my values have changed since the last time I released a project. And I think, there's so much work that goes into even preparing one song in general. And you really want to make sure that you're doing that song and that much work that's been put into it and gone into it by all these different entities, your producers, your featuring artists, the photographer who shot your artwork, the person who made your track list cover, the person who's shooting your promo video, all of your team, the village that helps you create, you're doing the work that they've done justice. And so I'm going to try my best to be as intentional as I can with this release and to set it up as nicely as I'm capable of doing for myself and my team.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of getting hyped for this, can we expect maybe another collaboration with someone like Ave Masetti or Evita? Or is it purely Ganja Beats, full throttle,
It is actually no Ganja Beats and an entirely set of new collaborators and people that I've grown to love and call friends and partners. So this is why I'm incredibly excited about this project, because it really is a first for me in many ways. This is my first time making a body of work without Ganja Beats and making it, amongst my peers, amongst artists that I've grown to love and discover. And seeing, as you mentioned, Evita, it's really important that we just express it here and today. Evita is the executive producer of the project. And so I'm so stoked. I cannot explain it any better than that. This is a project that's taken a lot of intention to build and to, orchestrate and to curate. So I just can't wait to put it out in front of the world and put it in front of as many ears as I can afford to.
You mentioned there, Ava, that you are managing yourself, amongst the village and the people that, you're obviously working with, photographers and producers and such. Sort of what goes into, managing yourself so efficiently, because I don't think a day goes by without you sort of seeing something about Ava, on the timeline. So you're doing a really good job. So how do you ensure, how is that possible? Like, what are you doing to make sure that, you're the best manager, for yourself?
Just hold on 1 second. Manager hat. I think that's honestly how I feel. Even when I'm speaking to my village of creatives and collaborators, I'm just like, oh my God, guys, do you understand that when I'm pushing you for deadlines, that this is like manager Ava talking. This is not Ava like Lava. It's not Ava, your friend. It's not Ava, your trusted, companion. This is manager Ava talking. Deadlines are deadlines, let's meet them. And so I think, the main thing is just really you are the only person who can defend your case as vigorously as you can. And I think that has been a big part of how I've got things done, is because no one will fight for me harder than I'll fight for myself. No one will push as hard for me as I can. And I'm committed to push for myself. And no one knows how badly I want it more than myself. And so those three things have been a key part of me being able to manage myself so far. Although this by no means implies that I am a manager in the sense of, okay, I feel like I have developed the skills to be able to manage other artists. No, I will still need a manager very soon. I just don't believe in, having just put all of my eggs in the basket of, oh, you need a manager. Things are getting out of hand. Like, you'll know when things are out of hand and you can no longer manage them. And a manager is someone you want to be such a major part of your story and journey and your companion, really. Someone who's invested in you, not because they earn from you, but because they're invested in your journey. And likewise, you are committed to each other. It's like a relationship. And not just any other relationship. It's a relationship where this person goes out there and fights for you because you are going to show up and fight for each other. And that's not something you can force. That's not something that you can, rush and just, okay, cool. Who wants to be my manager? No, it's so precious. It is a valuable thing to have. And that's why I believe it needs to be built. And so the fact that it hasn't happened for me yet, is just part of the process. I would rather do it myself until I come across someone who I could trust with my life and my music and my soul. And I think that's what it takes.
Just a quick follow-up from Meagan's previous question as well, where she brought up Ganja Beats. What is sort of the origin story, when it comes to you and Ganja Beats? Because also, just a side note, it reminds me of a tweet that someone put up the other day where they were talking about cheat codes in music, like people or artists that actually get together and you just know that it's going to be a guaranteed like smash hit. Obviously the likes of, say, Metro Booming and Future, or Wiki 1080 and Pretty Ugly or something like that. That's what I think of when I think of Ava and Ganja Beats. So how did you guys actually like link up and get together?
That is beautiful. Thank you so much. It was a chance encounter. And I think that is so crazy. It's crazy how many of the biggest moments in my life have, come down to chance encounters. The whole reason I'm in South Africa, how I made it here, all of these moments, including meeting Ganja Beats before I had even ever written a song in my life, it's just absolutely crazy that I've been lucky enough to have the most valuable, experiences and moments in my life start based on chance encounters. And this goes back to 2017. I went on to that Facebook group page. I think it was called I Know a Guy. And I posted on there asking to be taught production, right? Music production. Newsflash, I still haven't learned music production, but that's what I posted about. And a little old guy who is currently and more popularly known as Cool Drink, he got back to me and he was like, yo, I'll teach you production. And, we met up, we became friends so fast and so easily, him, myself, and my partner. And he just became a really, really big and major part of my friendship circle. And he was still in high school. He's a year younger than me. I had just moved here. So I just started first year. So like this goes way back. And we developed a beautiful friendship. And on one occasion, he was staying over at my house. And it was around the time of Halloween. And it was back in the day when Bacardi was throwing the holiday parties. Bacardi Holiday Club, Bacardi Halloween Party was the occasion on in this instance. And I convinced Munashe, I'm like, please, homie, dog, you cannot go home tonight. Like, this is the event. And I had managed, again, a chance encounter. I had managed to get tickets to that party for free because they ran a small giveaway. And I think Nadia Nakai was doing the giveaway and I was the winner. So she DM'd me on Instagram saying, hey, you're coming to the Bacardi Halloween party. And I'm like, Menashe, you can't go home tonight. Let me call your parents. Let's work this out. You're staying out one more night. You're going home tomorrow. Okay. We managed to convince him and we spoke to his parents. And just like that, we were at the Bacardi Halloween party where he ran into Kyle Deutsch, an artist he had collaborated with when he was like 14 or 15. You guys have to have Cool Drink on. This guy has stories for days. This is his third full musical career. He's been active musically for a very long time. he ran into Kyle Deutsch, who was chilling with Himmel and the rest of the Ganja Beats crew. And, he came running back to me because I wasn't even like exactly present in that conversation and in that scenario. He came running to me. He's like, I got us a studio session at Ganja Beats next week. And this is the beginning of everything. This is just crazy. But everything took such a tiny event going right, a chance encounter happening, being at the right place at the right time. And, even then, I dragged someone else who was in the right place at the right time. I wasn't even, the right person for that place at the right time. And so it's crazy how much we all need luck and how much we all need each other. As friends, as collaborators, as creatives to create something. And upon that, we went through to Ganja Beats' studio. I'm an inexperienced songwriter, never written a song in my life. And Menashe, he did what any good friend would, he made it seem like I got this, to myself and to the boys. He was like, yeah, she's going to write a song. And I wrote some stuff. They were like, okay, cool, come record. It's my first time recording. It's my second time recording anything. And yeah, we did it. And they invited me back to studio. And just like that, people who could tell I'm just an aspiring creative, an aspiring artist, an aspiring musician, they gave me a chance to turn that aspiration into a reality. And they really allowed me to experiment and to sit, and they gave me their valuable time and energy and music and allowed me to make mistakes on it. They allowed me to play around on it, to discover myself, to have songs that we're never going to release, to have songs that were purely educational in the greater scheme of things. And they've been my mentors for the last couple of years, and I'm so grateful for everything that we've done together in this process and the journey and how it's looking so far. And Summertime is just another ode to this, and it proves that the relationship is still so very powerful and meaningful to both of us and to both of us as entities. And yeah, hopefully we will continue making great music together. And I appreciate them having been mentors to me and giving me so many chances, because I truly don't know how else the story could have unfolded and where I would be without their intervention, without their hospitality and generosity, and for seeing something in me that I wasn't even capable of seeing in myself, because I wasn't anything at the time. I wasn't a musician. I wouldn't self-identify as any of those things. So I'm eternally grateful for the fact that they allowed me to be bad. They allowed me to not know anything about what I'm doing and to learn on the job and through chances being given to me.
One thing before I pass on to Meagan, I don't think you needed any luck. I feel like you could have done this without luck. And secondly, shout out to Ganja Beats.
Shout out to Ganja Beats.
Yeah, we've got a lot to thank them for, because this catalog is just it's too good. You have a little bit of a trend of releasing Halloween singles. So far, we've got Candy Coated Ganja, we've got Candy Sweet, and Hindsight, kinda. So if we're good, can we please get a spooky treat for 2022?
Oh, I like that this is like there's demand for this. Now I have to oblige. I like that. I like that. Halloween has always been something that I've loved growing up. So it's something that I'm very excited about. I made it a thing in China where it wasn't a thing. I mean, not me personally made it a thing in China, a country with a population of over 1 billion people, but, I practiced it, like going back to the point I was making about American TV and how, like, what we all grew up watching for the most part, I was like, oh my God, Halloween is like the most fun. This is just like, what don't you like about it? And I wasn't even like obsessed with the candy part. Like, I just like dressing up. I think that was the first avenue I had for realizing that I like doing things that are unconventional, that, I want to have fun. I like to dress up. Like, costumes are so cool. And why wouldn't you want to be involved in that? So me and my friends used to go trick-or-treating, even though it wasn't a thing. So we just go knocking on different people's doors. And mind you, these are apartment buildings. So we're just taking the elevators, going to like different floors, banging on people's doors, like, sorry, explaining what Halloween is to them. Being like, if you do have candy or something you can offer us, look, we're like looking spooky-ish. And so I think it's really just something deeply personal for me, like my love for Halloween. I see it's not as big of a deal here in South Africa, which is slightly disappointing, because, you know, I don't know. It makes me stand out when I do love it so much. But definitely, we can definitely arrange that. That seems like a cool idea. I like outdoing, you know, myself. And so hopefully we can take it even further, push the envelope. Let's chat, Meagan.
I'm so keen. I'm so keen. One thing I've learned is that when you play multiple roles, maybe play one at a time. And don't forget to maybe let your art breathe before you show it to the world. So I'm so grateful that you've come and given us such good company today. One last thing, I'd like to, you don't have to claim this at all, but I'd like to give you a new moniker, and I'd like to give you the name Sludge Empress, because I feel like you're in your goddess era and you've got it figured out, and it's all good from here.
Thank you so much, Meagan. Thank you, Nasiphi. Thank you so much for having me, guys. It's been so lovely speaking to you and digging deeper from a different angle, you know. A lot of the things that like I discussed with you guys today aren't things that I, you know, just directly go to, you know. So thank you for showing an interest in parts of me that, you know, I'm excited about as well. And for my music, thank you for, you know, listening. Thank you for wanting me to be a part of your show and everything that you guys have built. I'm very grateful.
Thank you so much, Ava. You know, the show wouldn't be a thing without the likes of yourself. So really appreciative of the fact that, you know, you came through to the show and we got to learn about you. I hope the audience has learned just as much. So if anyone wants to reach out to the Sludge Empress, what are the handles real quick for them?
At Avangelic on pretty much every platform. It is spelled AVANGELIC. But it's your girl, Ava like lava. First name Ava. The rest of it says like lava. I'm sure you'll be able to find me if you look with intention.
All right, that is dope. And obviously with Sludge Underground, we've got our website, www.sludgeunderground.com. And you obviously have our new merch collection all that you can check out. All the links are in the description. Do check that out. And I think by the time that we release this, I think summertime may be out already. So perhaps you can play out with it if you let us.
Lovely. Please do. Summertime. We really, really hope you enjoy it. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think is apart from 2018 and what is not. We really hope you enjoy the track. More importantly, you just need to have fun to it. I hope you do. I hope it makes you feel as light as it makes me feel.
And on that bombshell, it's bye for now.
Take me to the summertime. Take me to the summertime. When the finest souls be chilling outside like there's no bedtime. Take me to the summertime. When the finest souls be chilling outside like there's no bedtime. Climbing up the vine, be trying to go up, but the walls be too damn high. Letting all these walls of mine are a million stories, wish I could share, know that. So take me to the summertime. Take me to the summertime. Mama call me up, it's wake up time. Mama call me up, it's season time. Mama call me up, wait, my mama made me. Yeah, my mama made me. Hey, I'm outside, in the south side. You hear my bell ringing, join me for a joyride. Hey, it's our time, it's the prime time. They wanna be us, we gotta make it count right. Make it count right, make it count right. They wanna be us, we gotta make it count. So we gotta make it count like calculators. I don't even know how to calculate this. I don't even know how to add. All I do is make my papa mad. I subtract negativity, multiply serenity. Bullies, won't you get off of my back? All you do is fucking hate and laugh. In the fears, you'll be counting my rags. Take me to the summertime. When the finest souls be chilling outside like there's no bedtime. Climbing up these walls, be trying to go meet you at the end, call it a day, yeah. What's so right about? Mad I don't come from your town. Not here to turn up your frown. Say I know myself, but where's the fun of all that we about to find out? Take me to the summertime, when the finest will be chilling outside like there's no bedtime. Climbing up these walls, be trying to go up, trying to go up, trying to. Letting all these walls of mine are a million stories, wish I could share, no lie. So take me to the summertime. Take me to the summertime. Mama call me up, it's wake up time. Mama call me up, it's season time. Mama call me up, wait, my mama made me. Yeah, my mama made me.
I think it's good, bro.